The women sat looking at the vision in the darkness of the night. They asked no questions. They were not surprised. It was something that they had prayed to see. They didn't care if no one believed, for they knew what they had seen. The sky was clear, silently carrying their hopes, and although the mountains gave them unknown struggles, they knew the light would always guide them, lending only a glance at the beyond. They were guided by the light of the midnight star, snowflakes that created a soft glow and a dying fire. This was one vision that they would not share with others, no outsiders, for it was theirs and only theirs. It was a vision that would stay forever, etched in their hearts, becoming a part of their soul. Each woman grasped the purity of her experience and the purity of her secret. ¿Hubieras traído café? With that pumpkin cream? There are artists that think that they need to be famous.
Right, definitely.
And that's a whole nother entity. You know, are you doing it because there's a passion to it, whether you sell or don't sell, or are you doing it because you want to be known, you want to be famous, you want everybody to have your work? Human nature will probably say that that's what needs to happen, is that we have that in us, that we want to be recognized. I think that it would be better to be recognized as an artist and be recognized as a famous artist. And I don't know. I think there's a very fine line with that, and it goes back to the fact of like the men can rise, to become very famous artists, but in women, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that because that's not really true. I'm thinking of different people that hasn't happened to. But aside from the nature of men and women, I think that we all struggle. Right. We all struggle because, art to us is a necessity. So we're tapping into a lot of different things. We're tapping into the passion, the creativity, the emotional part of it. So there's so many things that we're tapping into that are very difficult sometimes to face. And, it's just, no, it's just being creative is not an easy road. We'd say, okay, so I'm going to pay my electricity this month, and you can pay your water, and you can have some of my electricity. We would run cords from one duplex to the other, just so that we could help each other out.
Yeah. Why are you so fascinated with skies? Is it like the possibility that the clouds are always changing? Is it the
rapidness of your change?
Yeah.
And the color and the formation. Mm-hmm. The formation is incredible. You can have some cloud that is so heavy and so powerful, and then all of a sudden this sweet little cloud just comes by.
Right.
So, but they're also like people.
In what way?
In the way that people that come into your life,
mm-hmm.
people that there's people that are very strong. Some of my friends are very, very strong,
mm-hmm.
And there's others that aren't. They're a little bit quieter, and they're observers, and they, and I think that's how clouds sometimes are. They just kind of pass by just to say a little hello and, move on.
Yeah.
And I'm a collector of people anyhow. Well, I was telling you about how sometimes I do things that are more in patterns like
right.
this, okay? And a lot of the reason for that is more so when my life is not in order. This is in order.
Right.
And so when I look at a painting, sometimes when it's finished,
right.
I think, okay, everything's in order. What does that mean? My life is in order. Whether it's a geometric piece or whether it's the women, it looks complete. And so then I can move on to another one. So but these kind of things that I do that are repeated are more so to put my own life in order.
I think to me the fascinating part of having the psychology background that I did, is the fact that I'm constantly discovering things about myself in my own paintings. But that's also the scary part.
Yeah. But how has the perspective changed though? Because see, I'm looking at this one and there's the back's turned, and then your more recent one, it seems like the lady is facing forward, but there's the depth. You know what I mean? It's like the position of the subjects are now like off center.
She's not quite there yet. I'm not ready for her yet. I'm not ready for her.
They're off center. I noticed it. I was sitting there studying and I was like, okay, this is different because everyone has their backs turned, and then your new stuff, it's depth with the geometric shapes. Right? So the lines, the colors are all bringing your eye to some type of focal point, but then the subject is not a part of that focal point.
But
So
would you ever
Go ahead.
do a painting that you're not comfortable with and finish it?
Well, those are the paintings you do for a job,
Oh, not for you.
not that you do for your own person.
I like those
Yeah.
those paintings that you feel frustrated. I love those, man.
I think that there's some that are
You don't?
challenging.
I do.
I think there's some that are challenging, but I think because we paint, and you guys that paint might agree or disagree, but I think because we paint with our inner self, it's only challenging to ourselves, but not to the technique. It's like trying to say something and communicate something, and it doesn't quite come out the way you want it. So in the painting, it's the same thing. It's only challenging because the communication is not coming out. It's like those dreams you have when you want to scream or you want to say something, but it doesn't come out. And it's that frustration.
I don't really care about the communication.
But the communication to an artist, to a visual artist, to a painter is important, I think.
It is.
Yeah?
Because
I never
you're
thought about it.
communicating,
Like
you're putting this together with this to make this happen.
Communication is essential because it's like
That's why
if you don't want
Yeah,
to
but
communicate, then you don't want to share.
But the communication isn't always.
What way though?
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is communicating to a person.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with how that person sees my painting.
That's what I'm saying.
My
How
communication
can
is
you-
with myself
Yeah.
and what I want to put down. Because he may come up to it and he'll see something totally different than what I have seen. And that's happened with us before,
Yeah.
working in the studio.
Yeah.
And you probably have heard people comment on something you did and you go, oh wow, I didn't intend for that to
absolutely.
happen, but the
Yeah.
way they see that,
I guess it's one.
the way they see that is really incredible because they're seeing it from their perspective, from where they're from, where they're coming from a totally different place than you are.
Sure, yeah.
So then it becomes a narrative because everybody has a story to it. I don't know what the definition of a narrative is in artwork, art
Yeah.
dictionary,
Yeah.
but I know that for me, narrative means it made you look and think and say something about it. The visual language of the soul, the heart. It is a transformation of a thought that takes shape in an image, a color, or a line. And this thought then takes life. It is born out of emotion. There is always an underlining narrative, an underlining thought to each image. And the question of why the image was placed in a particular position, why a color was chosen to translate this thought, and why is the language of this thought so important? All these come together to structure the transformation of a thought.